Welcome back to Absolutely PlayStation Esteemed Gamers, where we sit around and talk about your favorite video games in discussion, talk about their lore, and go over the news in a podcast format like everyone else on the internet. But we are the coolest white guys on the internet, and we're here to talk to you about it. My name is Benny, that is Dylan, and that is Huey.
Some pretty cool white guys on the internet. I don't know if it's us.
I don't put myself up there. I'm not going to lie.
No, but I've thought about this. Okay, so I have the epic beard, you have the epic hair, Dylan, and Huey has the I look like I'm Benjamin Button syndrome in reverse. So...
We cover the gamut.
We
very
do.
specific gamut.
I didn't know that was a thing, but all right. We're there.
And then Shank, when he's here, he looks like your stereotypical frat bro. We've got the coverage. Lumberjack, hipster, perpetual child, even though he's in his 30s.
Yeah, but I still am a perpetual child.
So if this is your first time in the channel, this is our weekly general discussion podcast where we just talk about what we've done in video games, be it an old game, be it a new game, what we've been experiencing and what we've been a part of. And I hope you guys enjoy my camera upgrade. I finally fixed it after 3 months. It was literally a button. A button.
Yep.
I mean, it was a whole
more like a
twist
ring.
But
Now I have to go out and buy a new camera.
I do want to state for everyone who's joining us for the first time, Dylan told me for 3 months it's probably just the camera.
I said it was the settings because he tried a different capture card and it didn't work, and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's the camera." And Benny was like, "No, it's not." I was like, okay, but it was.
Did I sound like
Dylan-
a child with it?
Dylan,
Did I call you out?
No.
You
Did
got
I
to
sound
say
like-
it right now.
Did I sound like I was on the Flash
line.
TV show? No, I wasn't, Dad.
Oh boy, we'll
Say
get
the
to
line,
that on
Dylan.
a different channel.
All right, so Huey, kick off this week. We're gonna go Huey's
Kick it
week,
off.
Dylan's week, and then my week. And I've got a story about bailing on my friends in Sea of Thieves. So stick around for that one. Let's
He
go,
does
Huey.
like to bail on his friends. Anyway, Scarlet Nexus. We talked a little bit about it last week. I finally have beat it.
I am
And
halfway through it.
You think you're halfway through it.
It
but you're
says
not.
I'm halfway through
I
it.
know it says you're halfway through it, but those last few chapters, they're a slog, some of them. So, I talked a little bit about the bond, all that. I did sit through more of the bonds to get to know some of the characters because you guys brought up some great points it's about, learning, getting attached to your characters. I used the same two the entire time.
I like Chainsaw Girl.
Yep, she was one of them.
The weird part is, like
Akiba.
actually most lollies, she's a lolly that sounds like she's in her 30s.
Because
But she's got a chainsaw that she attacks with.
So
I'm on board.
you probably missed this. They take a drug that keeps them the same age that they were when they joined the SAS.
Poor Arisha.
Yeah. So once they're out of the SAS, they will start to age properly. But that way, they can always have.
That's why
that
she seems
same
like the
look.
smartest one. I just thought it was the Japanese anime trope of like the little girl's actually a 5,000.
Nope.
course.
That's why all Gemma, he looks a little more rough and tumbled, but he's still somewhat young looking, even though he's the veteran of the SAS and all of that.
Yeah, because some of them look like kids. Like there's one guy that looks like he's like a little boy, and I just I'm not even questioning it because this game is an anime game, and I'm just
Luca.
like, whatever. We got children with the adults, and then this girl, the teacher, she's like hugely endowed and anime. Let's go.
Yep. Luca's got the Houston syndrome. He doesn't age. But overall, my experience with the game, I really enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed all of that. So the thing, I was talking to Benny a little bit about this because he's playing it right now. I don't like the pacing of the game. So there's 12 phases in the game, 13 if you count the prologue. And each one can be anywhere between 5 hours or 30 minutes. So you think you're almost done with the game. It's like, all right, there's 12 phases. I'm on 6. I should almost be done. That last chapter is almost 5 hours long.
Or you were lost. I'll let you know when I get there. There's
And
that chance, Dylan.
I think it was chapter 10 or 11 was like 20 minutes long of cutscenes. There was no playing it. It was just like cutscenes.
I've already had a few things like that, though. Like, you do a Bond episode and it's all cutscenes. Like, all
Well,
right.
that's the Bond's episodes. Those are in the halfway points. I mean, an actual phase of the game was just cutscenes.
See, I like the dungeon crawling. That's what
Exactly, I do too. So it's got its flaws, but overall, I do think it's kind of a sleeper hit because the story is actually pretty good. It's got a lot of weird twists to it you wouldn't expect. It's got the classic anime trope 500 phase boss fight at the end of the game.
Sweet.
There's
Now my true final form and my true final form.
Yep. There's two boss fights that this doesn't happen at all until the last phases of the game that are 3 to 4 phases long. Where it's like, all right, I win. Oh, it's back. Oh, I win. Oh, it's back. So then the other thing I looked up, because there's two stories. There's Yuito's and Kasane's. I played Kasane's. I'm like, all right, so do I have to go back to Yuito's? So I Googled it to look it up to see if there's any differences. There's so minor of differences that it's not worth it unless you really, really want the full picture of what Yuito was fully doing in his, because you get bits and pieces of it through Kasane's story.
You're right. The story is actually pretty cool, though. I will say it's about characters who have these like brain abilities, but it basically boils down to like superpowers. This guy can do lightning. This one can do duplication. This one can do speed ups. And the gameplay, because I know Huey's been talking about the plots and the problems with the plots, but the gameplay for Scarlet Nexus, which is what makes it enjoyable, is you take these people with you and then you borrow their powers for limited periods of time. So you're playing like normal with an action RPG kind of game, and then you're like, and now I need lightning. So you take a lightning ability, and it's instant quick draw. So, I'm fighting an enemy that is weak to lightning. Quickly pull it out, quickly turn it off, go to the speed, get the flyer, go over to the lightning, go over to the telekinesis, throw this thing, and you just constantly bounce back and forth, Dylan. And that's what makes it fun, and they add finisher moves all over the place. You're just constantly hitting finisher.
And that's why you have to do the Bond episodes. It actually increases your power with your friends. So you do the Bond episodes in order to, hey, I can use the lightning power longer now. I can use the super speed longer now.
Right.
Or I can call them in for a attack in the middle of me fighting, so it adds to my combo and stuff like that.
The combat's, for me, what makes the game great, but the storyline's interesting too, because they just start deep diving into what their powers are. But unlike your usual anime moody game, the people with the powers are like revered as like superheroes. Like the news follows them and stuff like that. So like in this world, there's posters of the Arisha girl, whatever, how do you ever pronounce her name? The Chainsaw Girl.
If you watched your Bond episodes, you'd know why.
I've been watching hers. And
you said you
I know I'm gonna sound like a sleaze, but the well-endowed girl, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Kyoka. Well, no, she's like, her character is actually really interesting. She's like the teacher / team leader kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah, sure she is.
I like the way you worded that.
Sure she is.
Despite her massive hongo bongos, she's really interesting.
She is. I find that
she actually is.
Yeah, see?
She actually is, but you learn more why later.
I'm not known for pronouncing things correctly, and every one of these names is very Japanese. Like one of the guys, his name is Karin, but it's spelled Karen.
Yep.
So like, and that's what I mean. Like, I am known for not pronouncing any of them properly. What I actually know them for is their abilities. But if I tell you the duplication girl and the speed up girl and the lightning guy, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? No. But for the sake of our podcast and hilarity, it's the well-endowed girl and the one with the chainsaw. I'm sorry.
You're not wrong.
I finally figured out how to pronounce Karin, Karin, like Karin, like chapter 4. In Kasane, I couldn't say right until 5, and she's my main character.
And they say their names. The thing is, they say their names a lot.
They do.
They really do.
It's one of those things where they're like, so anyway, Dylan, what are we going to be doing later? Dylan and Houston, I want to know your opinions on this over here, Houston. Follow me. And what I love is when they put the rank in there, come with me, Major General Dylan. Like, they say it a lot.
They do.
And I still can't get their names down. I can't. I don't know if it's Arashi or Arashi or what. Arashi. Okay, I only know that because I did her Bond episode last night. So last night, it's fresh in my head. Sorry, just Benny rant on the naming.
I don't know how far you are into Kyoka's story, but hers does get very good.
Kyoka. See, I know how I could see how it's spelled because I wear her talisman because she's one of my favorite characters.
You wear that thing?
Yeah, it's ugly as hell.
It takes your whole body.
It's like a giant poster.
In case you're wondering, there's also a costume system that you can make your character look different. It's weird because it's weird and cool because it does follow into the cutscenes.
It's like a sticker system though. They just put it on top of the model. So like she gives you this talisman and it's like a giant poster and you just wear it on the front of your character.
Nice.
And then I put a fox mask on and cat ear headphones and my cutscenes look hilarious.
I had sunglasses on and a raven's tail. And I totally forgot I had the raven's tail until near the end of the game when they're doing cutscenes.
Dylan is sitting there like, you are not convincing me to play this, guys.
I have no idea what's going on.
You should play it. It's a lot of fun.
Anyway, the story is really good, right, Huey?
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely, the ending leaves more for a sequel. So if it does well, I can see it getting a sequel. At first, I'm like, oh, that sounds like it would be a great epilogue. And maybe if I beat both stories, because Benny originally thought he read that there is an epilogue if you beat both sides.
Right. I was prepared to go through both, so it's a good thing he found out early.
I looked it up before I started Yuito's side because I didn't want to play through the whole game again as a different character with minor side points.
Well, my only complaint with is knowing that now is that Namco Bandai definitely is trying to make this into something because there's also an anime that has come out alongside this title. Yeah, so they're definitely trying to make this more of a multimedia.
I can see this being a new Tales franchise.
Yeah, or Dot Hack from back in the day.
Or Dot Hack, yeah. Well, Tales is by Bandai Namco.
I believe so is Dot Hack.
Really?
I think they made it. I mean, I think it hasn't come out forever.
It's been a while. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so other than that, beating Scarlet Nexus, which I'd highly recommend anybody who likes anime games to play it.
I hope we've convinced you with our description, Dylan. I'm going to send you a free copy, and you will tell me what you think of it, okay? Cool.
Sure.
Well, I had to buy my own copy. What is this? And then me and Benny have been getting back into golfing lately, and we got PGA 2K21. So I started my golf career last night. And
is it fun or not?
It is pretty fun, actually.
I was in a meeting with an individual who has access to free copies of PGA. I will say this was given to us by the company as a way to test it. I was in a conversation. We were just talking about games, and I said that we tried Mario Golf, and we weren't really we weren't enjoying it that much. And they suggested PGA, and they're like, if you want, we'll send you a couple sample copies so you guys can test it out and talk about it. So I was like, I'm not going to say no to a free copy of PGA.
Yeah. And it's a golf game. It's not this weird, okay, now I got to hit it into this tornado so it goes up a level, and then I got to run to the ball, and then I got to do a super shot. But you're just selling
Dylan on Mario Golf now. You're just selling Dylan on the other game.
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to play something, but if you put Mario in it, I'm more inclined. So
you don't want to be Tiger Woods?
No, I'd rather be Mario.
Well, I made Houston Hines, the golfer. And
Nice.
I have started my first few tournaments. I got like 30th in my first one, and then I withdrew from the second one because the first two holes were terrible. I'm like, it's not even worth playing through this entire thing.
Oh no!
And then I got third in my next one. And then I started the next one. I realized I'm way too tired to still be playing this game.
Is it like an uber chill game though?
Oh, it is. It's It's a golf game. You play actual courses in the world, so you get to experience all of that. You get real golf clubs. You get
Well,
to
I
design,
downloaded it, so next week we can talk about the co-op in it.
Yeah. You get to design your characters, so do with what you will. You can make Mario if you want.
Sweet.
He's gonna be the fat plumber on the course of this. We're gonna be like real golfers, and Dylan's gonna be like, "What's up? It's a me, Dylan."
But no, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So for it being a golf game.
All right.
And then other than that, just my normal app games. I got Nian in Arc Knights, which makes me happy because I finally have a good.
She is a limited unit and super
tank.
hard to come by, and Huey has terrible luck in that app game.
And I finally have a good tank now because she's a tank class. And yeah, other than that, not too much going on. Oh, I started Monster Hunter Stories too, but I'll let you know more about that when I get farther into it.
Okay.
Fair. Little tease for the upcoming podcast.
Tune in next week, and Houston might have played some more Monster Hunter Stories too.
Maybe. We'll see.
All right, Dylan, what have you done this week on your vacation week?
Well,
So I'm expecting 20 games played, tons
I
of
played
progress
one.
made.
I play back in Final Fantasy XIV. After what I realized, when I was setting up my UI, I went back and checked a stream because I was like, I don't remember what my HUD looked like. I haven't played 14 in 3 years, which is ridiculous to me.
I have
felt
tried
like
multiple times to get you to play.
Yeah. And the final straw was when some of my friends outside of like work and stuff got into it randomly. And I was like, okay, I'll go play with them and join back in with everyone. So the reason that I quit 3 years ago was because I finished A Realm Reborn story, got through the patch cycle, and started Heaven's Ward. And then realized how much MSQ I had left before I could start raiding, and was like, maybe not. And I closed it one day and never went back. Because I knew that like if I started skipping the story, because a lot of people were just like, just skip it, skip all the cutscenes, you'll get to end game, blah blah blah. And I was like, I'll feel bad, I'll feel guilty for like skipping all this content that the devs worked so hard on, and also like I kind of want to know what's going on. I just don't feel like I need to deliver like every little bit of like parcel between the land of Eorzea.
Right.
Maybe I don't need to do that.
They've cleaned
part.
a lot of that up. They've cleaned
Yeah,
a lot
well,
of it up.
in the patch cycle for Realm Reborn, but nothing else. Everything else is still the same. But so I logged back in this time with the mantra. I was like, okay, fine, I'll just skip all the story. Or I don't even know if I said that at first, because I started doing like a couple story quests. I was literally in the first zone of Heaven's Ward. And I
you're
went and
that
checked
far back?
Yeah.
I saw you at 70 and just assumed you were probably on Shadowbringers and just got to the end of Stormblood and quit.
So here's the thing: is like I was outpacing MSQ because I wanted to have fun. So by the time I quit, I was level 66, but I had just started Heaven's Ward.
Yeah, you're
dang.
15 levels too high.
Right. Because I was like doing dungeons and stuff. I was doing my daily like leveling roulettes and stuff in Palace of the Dead and everything because that's what was fun to me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be stuck in MSQ jail. But I went into the mail. It said that I had a mail, and I don't know why it gave this to me. But it gave me a Heaven's Ward skip for free. So I used that, and I kind of regret it. But
So the good plots are Heaven's Sword and Shadowbringers. A Realm Reborn is a good beginning, and Stormblood is basically that filler episode between things, which only introduces the big bad that we have to deal with. So you
Right.
skipped the good one. So
that's the thing is everyone
chapter.
everyone has told me that Heaven's Ward is the good one, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go back and play it at some point. But I've watched because one of the problems that I was having was like I'm not super interested in Final Fantasy stories, so everything was kind of losing me. So I went and I actually watched some of the comic story and recaps for the Final Fantasy
I know
stuff,
that
and
guy!
I watched some other ones.
He's a dick.
Yeah, he is.
And I got caught up, and I even watched some of the recaps of like Shadowbringers and stuff, just so I can kind of like understand where we're going and the context of everything, so that I don't get completely lost. And a combination of that and just telling myself that I can take my time and I don't need to rush to endgame and I can go off and like craft for an entire day if I want to. I've now somehow successfully tricked myself into liking the story. So
I will say there has been a change since you left that will fix this problem. I recommend, and I'll send you the potion myself, a full story skip at this point. Take it to 70. Hold on, there's a reason.
Okay.
Full skip to 70, so you could start really kind of focusing on getting yourself to 80 so you have the full access to the game. What they've added is a new game plus mode for all of the main story that will sink you back down and you can just experience the story. And what it will allow you to do is once you hit that point of like the patch cycle for A Realm Reborn, you can go, all right, I could go to the next part now. This is skippable. You know what I mean? So you can go back, do Heaven's Sword, you can do the core plot to Stormblood, and then you can just go to Shadowbringers, and you won't be hindered anymore. Since you're already 70, this is why I'm suggesting it. Like, if you were still 55, I'd say keep going.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do for Heaven's Ward. I'm gonna go back and do the new game plus for that at some point. But like, I'm I think 10 quests away from finishing Stormblood. Then I have Patch Cycle and then Shadowbringers. So like,
Patch Cycle for Stormblood is pretty good. It's the only problem with Stormblood. It's considered the worst of the expansions now that we have 3. Mostly because it is just filler. We're building up for this war with, well, you've already done it, so you know Zeno and all that stuff. So we're building up for that war, and then we're going to continue, and then the patch cycle is just establishing this base of operations.
Right.
That we come back to with Gangos and what's happening right now in the story. We're actually back there now.
And I like I said, like I watched like recaps and stuff, so I know like where everything's leading, and I've seen the cinematic for Endwalker, so I know Xeno, like we're not gonna take care of him for a while.
What do you mean?
All I'm gonna say on that one is, it's Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there will be twists and turns. I don't, there's a bunch of stuff, but like. There is some things that I know happen in Heaven's Ward that I kind of am sad that I didn't get to experience. But like, again, like I don't know. I took the skip that it gave me, and I regret it sometimes. Especially like I've been doing a lot of crafting as well. So I've been visiting because my crafter is around Heaven's Ward level right now. Like I'm going through Heaven's Ward stuff with them. So I've been visiting like Heaven's Ward zones, and I'm like, whoa, these zones are so pretty, and I've never seen them before, and I have all of them unlocked now because of the skip. But
what are you doing to craft then, Levs? Because you haven't hit me up at all, so I've let you do your own thing.
Yeah, I started doing a Weaver, and I was just doing the class quest and leaves, and then I got my Weaver to a certain level, and then started doing Botany. And then I got Botanist to a certain level and then started doing Alchemist. And then I needed some Goldsmith stuff, so I started doing Goldsmith. And that's where I've stopped for now. But I'm mostly just like, my new goal with crafting is my Weaver is at, I think, 60. And my Botanist is at, I think, also 60. And right now I'm in the Firmament, and I'm trying to grind for the Skybuilder scripts because I want the big gorilla mount.
That was where I was going to tell you to go. So what they did was they've cleaned up the crafting, so it's super simple to do now as opposed to like the 90 combos you had to pull up before. And they created the Firmament, which is its own plot line for crafters, and there's legendaries and end game to do and things like that. And I was going to point you to the Firmament. Game. Yeah, well. You get to endgame, you're not going to get there to your 80 on the crafter. But I was going to tell you, the Firmament is what is built for you to enjoy crafting on that, like on the same level as you would a combat class.
Mm-hmm. And I've really been, I've been liking it because it was really the day that I logged back on and I was like, you know what? I think like a buddy of mine was like, I really like the crafting in this game. And it's like, I never tried it. So I sat down and I just crafted, and I just crafted for that entire day. And I was like, okay, I can slow down and I can just enjoy like the hundreds of other things you can do in this game.
It's funny because a lot of people tell me like, what do you do in Final Fantasy XIV? Like, I do mini games and raiding. You won't be at my point for a very long time. There's a lot to do in this game.
Right. Yeah, and like I've also been like I've been weaving what I really, really enjoy, which is the leveling process. Like I've been leveling other jobs while I like in between doing crafting and MSQ stuff.
Right.
Like I have other friends who are trying to level and trying to get through MSQ as well. So whenever they get to like a dungeon or a raid or something, I switch to a lower level job and I go and help them with it. And it's been a lot of fun. Like because that was my main issue is like, I come from playing Star Wars The Old Republic where like the leveling process is there and the story is there. But by the time you're at level 50 or whatever the level cap is at the given time, the story's over and you have access to all the raids and all the dungeons and everything. And that's like kind of the point. Like you get to that point, it's kind of a race to that point. But like in 14, now that I've realized like it's not that. Like take your time, slow down.
Well, that's just it. Because 14, a lot of people just want to compare to other MMOs where it's like, no, leveling is just the annoying, grindy part you don't want to be a part of. The story is the annoying part we're all going to skip. We all just want to get to raiding. And as much as I enjoy raiding in Final Fantasy, it's not its strong suit. There's raiders who will tell you it's the strongest part of it. But I actually don't think it's the strong suit because the raiding of Final Fantasy is an orchestrated dance. So once you've learned the dance and your team learns the dance, it's over. And there's no upper tier of difficulty. What makes Final Fantasy strong is that story, its delivery, all the stuff that gets intertwined between crafting, gathering, all the mini games and how those are a part of it, how you could do a card game with any random person or go into an endless tower dungeon and how they've managed to incorporate all of these features and not leave any of them forgotten. Like, that's what I've always loved about 14. WoW and other MMOs like to be like, here's the new expansion. Go here. I did Old Republic, and they were like, oh, do you just want to go straight to the story of the two brothers? That's the good one, and you'll do a solo adventure. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? And I skip everything, and all of Old Republic is forgotten. And if you go to WoW, they're like, here's Shadowlands. You're dead now. Go here.
You're dead now.
And that's basically like, and that's the problem I have. I love MMOs, but they treat the story and the leveling and all that stuff as like, well, this is the boring part. Don't worry about that. We don't have to focus on that. But Final Fantasy treats the leveling, the mini games, the experience, the whole being in the world as the game. And they treat like raiding on the same tier as they treat like chocobo racing. They just make it, put it out, and have fun with it, and then we move on. You know what I mean? Like it's still viable. You can still go back and do things, and that's what I've always enjoyed about that. And the fact, like, you just discovered the crafting, and they're constantly making changes. That firmament, that whole storyline, you can now do with your crafting, which has goals and end game and and weekly turn-ins. If you just want to be a crafter, that all came out in Shadowbringers. You know, so they're constantly going back and updating and being like, okay, what is the weak part of our game? Crafting doesn't really have an end game. Let's make one. You know, like. And as much as I despised a lot of what they did in Shadowbringers because I wanted more just combat content, at the end of the day, I've done all of it now and I've enjoyed it. So
yeah, that's also something that I've realized, and it's one thing that I really miss about the Old Republic is I've looked into some of the like end game combat stuff for 14, and a lot of it just looks like it's like you said, like it's pretty simple. It's not like too on the crazy end of the spectrum, and I feel like the Old Republic had raids that were really fun and they were really cool to look at, and they had like story, and they weren't messy. Like I just redid, and I know this is old content, but I just redid the Crystal Tower raids because my friend just went through them, and they're just like some of the fights are fun, but there's 24 people running around, and there's like it's like hard to understand what's going on.
Well, okay, I will say when it comes to Crystal Tower, and you're going to see it in the Void Ark series, and you're going to see it in the Rabanastre series, they're so old now, and the power creep is so bad that no one does it right. It's literally just everyone blow it up and move on.
Yeah.
So you're experiencing a bad experience with those, and there's multiple types of raids. There's that type, which I've always felt is kind of a disaster, because they do a 24-man thing that you can just queue into. It's matchmaking with people and it's intended for like, half the group can carry the other half. That's the difficulty level. So you do get a lot of just flashy effects everywhere. Oh God, what is happening? The 8-man raids are much more difficult. They are like a orchestrated dance where everyone, okay, you're going to go here, you're going to go here. Yeah. You're going to cast this at this time, which is good and bad because when you start wiping at the 10-minute mark on a consistent basis, you're very annoyed.
I experienced that last night.
Yeah. There's also, and you'll be able to get into this type of raid at Stormblood and Shadowbringers. And Shadowbringers, you can use it for leveling your 71s higher. A new type of raid, which is the difficulty of the 8-man with the orchestration of it, but 24 to 48 players, but organized. And it sounds like a mess and a disaster, but it's so buried that you have to find it with the intention of that's the barrier for entry. You're not going into this just half-assing it. You're going to want to do this. So that's how they're structured. They're actually a lot of fun with a lot more difficult mechanics. There's one fight where they'll either make you hot or cold to a certain degree. So you have 2 ice. So then you have to find the 2 fire to counteract that. And like bad guys might be using it, or arrows might shoot you, stuff like that. It's just a lot of fun, weird mechanics. In math, oh my God, they throw math in. They'll give you a dice on your head and you got to move that many squares and dodge everything. So don't move too many squares.
Oh boy.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that gets put into the more difficult ones. But if you're going into that 24-man queuable alliance raid content, always expect it, unless you're on the current one, to kind of just be a blitz from beginning to end. There's no challenge to it.
Yeah, and I think it's just I don't think I like the more than 8-man stuff, because it just feels messy, and it does kind of feel like even because some of the fights, like I feel like what's the one? It's like the big eye thing. It's all about like in one of the Crystal Tower raids, and it's like there's a bunch of like luck stuff, and you have to cleanse Doom. That fight.
The roulette guy, and you gotta make sure you're on red, and then you're on blue, and then you're on red, and then you're on blue, and you gotta go back.
Like, and those were cool mechanics, but like everyone was wiping in it because no one was paying attention, and
that's
we
the
got
issue
through
run
it.
into. It's power creep. They assume we're gonna blow it up, so they're just not doing it anymore.
Yeah, and that was like once I looked it up, like people were kind of in Alliance chat being like, do this, cleanse Doom, blah blah blah. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, these mechanics are actually really interesting, but because there's 24 people here and it's old content, like half the Alliance could die and it wouldn't matter. Like, we're going to kill them anyway. That's not fun.
That's literally how all those Alliance raids are structured. They're intended for 2 parties can carry a third. Because they try, and that's why they're against things like damage counters and stuff like that, even though they exist. Because they don't want that mentality of you have to be good to play Final Fantasy XIV, which generally doesn't create a problem because you can be a subpar player and be carried by a higher end player and everyone just has fun with it. The issue comes in when you have a super subpar player, and I've dealt with these, who insist on never improving, but they want to be included in everything. Yeah. And it's like, that's the problem there, because now you've created a game where it's okay to be bad, except for this little select amount of content, and this bad player wants to be dragged through this select content. Right. So I avoid those people for the most part, just play nice and walk away. But
fair.
Because they're the kind of player you're not going to convince to improve. They just don't, they have no desire to, so it's just an argument.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like I'm in, like I'm back in it and I'm having a lot of anxieties every day that even though I've logged in pretty much every day since I've started, I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna stop playing at some point and all of this is gonna be worthless, even though like now I've had fun while I don't know why I have those anxieties about like live service games, but
as your friend who definitely didn't recruit you and is just doing this for the benefits of it, just keep the sub going. It's fine.
You got it.
Tonight or tomorrow, I'll grab you. I'll pick you up. I'll show you some cooler stuff. See what you think about it. We'll just go through and do some fun stuff and level and stuff, and I'll show you maybe some stuff you're missing out on that you just aren't aware exists. You know what I mean?
I mean,
because the game is huge at this point.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, like, I'm enjoying just kind of tripping into new parts of the game, like as I play it the way that I want. And like I've already pre-ordered Endwalker mostly because I wanted the XP boost earrings. But it's been a lot of fun, and I don't know, I'm enjoying the possibilities of like I think the main thing is like the I hope I stick around for this game long enough to where I can develop a relationship with it now and be around for like when new content drops and I can be caught up and like experience it and like have an MMO in my life again, because I haven't for like I guess 3 years since I first started playing this, but like I don't think I've had an actual MMO in my life since the Old Republic, since I stopped playing that. So I'm probably gonna start playing that again soon too. So
I always find MMOs fun because even when you're not fully into them, it's just that fun passive thing. Instead of sitting on my couch playing channel flip, I'll go sit on my computer and just goof around for an hour or two. And there's definitely periods of Final Fantasy where I'm just barely playing. I'm raid logging, what they call it, where I just get on to hang out with my friends and then I go off for the week. But I don't know. For me, I like having an MMO in my life because I like having that passive game. I don't have to play channel flip. I don't have to go look at the PlayStation Store for an hour and try to find something. I could just go, I'm just going to zone out, pop a YouTube video on or a podcast and just go grind, you know?
Yeah. That's like, there's so much that like last night when my friends got off, I just like for 2 hours, I put a podcast on and just was crafting, just like grinding out Skybuilder scripts.
That's what I did yesterday morning. I was supposed to. I was supposed to be working, and I had a crazy migraine going on. So I just went in and did the latest grind area, and just grinded up while watching videos. That's when I watched that Superman episode 11, and I was like, "What is this recap episode?" And you're like, "It's been there forever," and I'm like, "Well, I didn't see it. It's new to me, Dylan."
It's good stuff though. I like 14. It's a good time.
Yeah,
you got my endorsement.
Hey, welcome back from that awkward cut. It's time for my story today. Okay, so here's
what I did. You have no faith in my skills. It wouldn't have been an awkward cut.
No, it has to be an awkward cut. Now we have to be awkward.
You don't even cut it. Just stop his camera if you could do that. Just like put a black thing over there, just me and you staring at each other until he comes back and says, "All right, after that awkward cut."
Like 2 minutes of dead air. Sure.
Okay, so I played Scarlet Nexus, but we're not going to retread that again. And of course, I play Final Fantasy XIV, but we're not going to retread that again. So let me tell you about the other things I did this week. One, I want to have a discussion about. Two, and maybe it'll become a separate podcast, actually, depending how long the Sea of Thieves stories goes. Okay, so we've been playing Sea of Thieves lately, me and a bunch of people. This night I was on it with our friend Saud, our friend Coda, and who was our fourth? Maybe Leo? I don't know. We had a fourth. So we're on a story mission, and the story mission is we were on a tall tale, and it was like you had to follow these directions from the pirate captain to find a treasure, and we're tracking it, we're doing it, and we did the standard Sea of Thieves mishaps where it's like, oh, a random island, let's go here. Spent an hour on this random island getting other treasure, and then we're like, oh crap, go back to the mission, go back, you mateys, you know, like. And we go to the other wrong island, search that one for an hour. So we're like 4 hours into this, and we're all agreeing this island up ahead, if it doesn't have the treasure we're looking for, because we can't seem to follow these directions properly, if it doesn't have the treasure we're looking for, we're just going to loot this island, turn everything in, call it a night. We'll pick it up later. So we're going towards this island, and I'm below deck looking at the map, because the way Sea of Thieves works is you need somebody steering, but he can't see past the front of the ship because of the sails. So you need someone up in the crow's nest looking where you're going, directing to the second guy, but neither of them can see the map. So while they're doing that, you have someone on the map kind of watching the direction of the boat. So I'm on the bottom looking at the map, making sure we're heading in the right direction. And I hear, because we're on comms, and they're like, hey, there's a big red tornado past the island. Should we go fight that boss? And they're like, no, we're just going to end on this island. And we keep sailing. And then I just hear the pilot, the Coda, on the wheel. I think that red tornado is the island we're going to. And so I come up from below deck, and I'm like, "Yarmy mateys, that is the boss over there." Full pirate. You got to go full pirate when you're doing Sea of Thieves. That's just how that is.
I would just like you guys to know this is not for the story. He actually did this. I could hear him upstairs.
You're the boss beyond that island. So we agreed we're going to go to the island, look for the treasure, and then just fight the boss on the island. Now, here's the problem with Sea of Thieves. And I've mentioned this before. Sea of Thieves is technically a PvE PvP game. You basically have all these goals you can do with just your friends. But there's other pirates sailing across the ocean. And the other pirates can see various things such as boss spawns, so that it funnels you all to one location. Generally, we don't get interrupted doing anything else. Searching random islands, never interrupted. Doing story, never interrupted. But whenever we go to these objective markers, of course, other players are going there. And our last experience with a boss did end with another player showing up, messing up the whole thing, and then we had to respawn and couldn't finish it. So we pull up on this island, and the boss is over there. Everyone jumps off the boat. We're geniuses, right? Everyone jumps off the boat. We leave the boat sitting out in the middle of nowhere. We start fighting this boss. Okay, so this boss is this big skeleton that can summon volcano things off the ground. And we're 4 guys with pistols that have 6 shots and a sword. Okay?
That's all you need. That's really all you need.
So we're on the beachhead over here fighting against this skeleton, and he's throwing like volcanoes and stuff like that. And then he starts to summon ads. So additional skeletons. So I'm fighting the additional skeletons. Coda, Sod, and the other guy, I don't remember his name, probably Leo, are all fighting the main guy, and we're all going to town on this boss, right? And then Coda has a genius idea. Hey guys, we're on the beach. I'm gonna get the boat and use the cannons against the boss. Mistake number one, my friends. Because now Coda is running off the beach towards our boat. And there's 4 of us. And you know who the boss decides he's going to chase?
Oh, no.
That's how it works. The guy not there.
Right, so Coda's running to the boat, and I just see the boss, and I'm like, Coda, stop! The boss is chasing you! But now the boss, we discover, has ranged attacks. He can throw cannonballs.
Great.
They thought about the boat's cannons.
Yup.
But Coda's not an easy target to hit. And what's right behind Coda?
A boat.
A nice big target.
So the boss is chasing Coda, hurling cannonballs, bombarding our boat. So quickly Coda's like, I'm gonna get on and fire the cannons. Oh God, everyone start bailing out. We're sinking, we're sinking, we're sinking. So now the game becomes me and Sod are on the beach trying to beat down the boss, while Coda and Leo are on the boat throwing water on the fire, putting it out, bailing out the water now. The mast begins to fall. It's like,
Oh boy.
and it's just like, what is happening? But the boss is so focused on him, he's not hitting me and Sod. So I'm just standing behind him like, and then you just hear explosions as the boat is going off right next to me. So this goes on for like 5 minutes. Everyone's in a panic. Me and Sod are dodging volcano blasts. Ads are still spawning. Our boat is burning down. And we killed the boss. We did it. The boss dies. His skull hits the ground. And on the beach spawns like 10 chests of loot. And then I see it. Off on the beach, a player boat has finally arrived.
Uh-oh.
I look at our boat. Both of the sails are down. Half of it is on fire. The other half is boarded up. And I go, guys, fight the players. I have a plan. Now, I didn't relay the plan. I didn't tell them what the plan was. I took the boss skull, which is the biggest portion of loot, and I ran.
Okay. Good plan.
So they're on the boat firing the cannons, and I run to the other side of the island. And I remember on the other side of the island was a rowboat. So we're in the middle of the ocean. They're fighting each other. I haven't said anything. I drop the skull in the rowboat, and I get in the water. I'm like, all right, we're out. Screw this. I started to get us super far away, and someone's finally, Benny, where did you go? And I'm like, it's good. I got the loot, and I'm rowing away. They're like, what do you mean rowing away? I'm like, literally rowing away. I took a boat, and I'm leaving.
I got the loot. I'm out of here.
Yeah. But the loot is shared. So if I turn it in, everyone wins. So now they're all cheering me. Keep going. Keep going. And then I row into a hurricane. So it's like calm waters. Oh no. Oh no. So I'm getting all excited. I'm like, guys, I don't know where I'm going. They eventually sink and die, and they respawn on another boat. And so I don't know where I am. I don't have a map. I have a rowboat.
Oh, boy.
I'm in the middle of the ocean with choppy waves and a player boat that is probably very quickly going to realize the boss loot isn't there anymore. So I look behind me and I see an island. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to go to this island. It's north of where we were last time. If you get in a range, you'll see my nameplate and you can find me. So I row to the island. I row to the island, up and over these waves, up and over these waves. It's the most annoying thing ever to control the rowboat. And it turns out I was rowing to the nearest outpost. So it docks up and I'm like, turning point, run!
Yep. Nice.
And that was the day I Jack Sparrowed my team.
Yep. That's great. Now, I don't remember. I've played my fair share of Sea of Thieves, but I don't remember if you can do this. Could you have... Because your boat was sinking, right? Could you have killed the other players and stolen their boat?
No. So you respawn on your boat until it's sunken. Because that was one of our guys' plan. Guys, kill them. We'll just take their boat. But they would have respawned on that boat.
You just keep killing them.
Yeah, we would have had to. We basically would have had to camp them, and then they can hit the player.
But could you
button.
take control of it?
Yeah, we could have taken control of it. Yeah.
Okay, you should have thrown them all in the brig.
But I'm pretty sure that it becomes a griefing thing, and I don't know when they added this, but there's a button. If you're being griefed, press this button. I don't know what it does, but if you're being griefed, there's a button to press. I probably respawns you on a different server or something like that, and then we would have just lost the boat anyway.
That's funny. I remember me and my friend Kevin once, we were playing Sea of Thieves, and we had just gotten back to an outpost after we had tons of loot, and I parked the ship on a place that was we had to basically take the loot into the water to put it onto shore. So we were doing that. We were putting everything onto shore, and we were turning stuff in, and then I went back and I realized, wait a minute, there's less here than there was 30 seconds ago, and I turn around and there's 3 players stealing our loot, going off to turn it in. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, and we start shooting at them, and for the next 20 minutes it was just a game of cat and mouse of us killing these players as we rush to turn all of our loot in before they can steal it from us.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
I really enjoy Sea of Thieves. I actually do enjoy the player versus player thing. I don't know. There's got to be some fix to avoid the griefing. Because anytime I've normally run into a player, it's just straight up griefing. Those guys are probably coming to fight the boss and whatever. But every other time, it's always been somebody just taking my loot or just trying to sink our boat for the shits and giggles of it. And yeah, I get it. That's the life of a pirate. I do. Mm-hmm. But it's very discouraging to play the game for 4 hours, not run into a single player, do tons of stuff, and then just kind of have your night ruined by some random guy that charges at your boat.
Yeah. That's my story could have gone the opposite way, where they kill us, sink our boat, and then all of our loot is gone. But it was the fun way of. I think actually we did die at one point, and it respawned our boat on the closest outpost next to it, and we were able to sail back to that outpost and kill them again before they stole all of our loot.
Those moments are what make the PvP fun,
right? When
you have a fun, even ground thing, but. I don't know. I get it, and everyone in the Sea of Thieves community, they go both ways. There's the PvE, softies, you don't want to play with it, but then you have the hardcore. That's the life of a pirate. I enjoy the game for the griefing elements, and I don't know the middle ground. I'm not a game developer, but I will say I'm kind of excited for the private servers because they are supposed to be coming out with private servers eventually. Mm-hmm. And if I get on a night and I don't want to deal with other players, I like the option of I can just be a pirate doing all of this PvE content you made. And I know I've said it before, I just don't understand why there's so much PvE content if you want to keep the griefing available. It's weird. It's a weird thing, and I can't decide what side of it I'm on. Because I have those fun moments, but I'm also annoyed at times.
Yeah. Because I think definitely, Sea of Thieves is a super relaxing game at times, too.
Yeah,
because
it is very
relaxing. And I think people, if they want to go in with that experience and they don't want to be messed with by other people, especially other people that might because of voice chat might scream obscenities at you, it's I don't want to deal with that. Maybe I want to go collect some loot and solve some puzzles today.
Yeah, it's it has puzzles, it has loot, there's fishing, you could just chill out and fishing, but then a player could just run up and shoot you. I get it, I do. I understand the concept of a pirate, but back in the day when pirates would mess with each other, there was other things for them to keep occupied with, not just only griefing. It's weird. It's a weird structure, and it's just one of those games where it's all right, I'm going to play Sea of Thieves. I might get griefed today. Let's just deal with it.
Right.
All right. Well, that's my story. That's what I've done. We're gonna have a discussion about Escape from Tarkov in a separate video, basically talking about how they've, to improve mid-game, have screwed over all new players. And we'll talk about that in a separate video. But I'm Benny, that is Dylan, and that is Houston, and we are absolutely PlayStation and Steam gamers, and we will see you next week on the Generic Podcast right here.